Thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome in and welcome back. It is a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday. Just setting up every little last detail. Let's see. Let's see. I need to check. Oh. I need to change this. I can't believe this. All right. Doing retro. Sorry. It's the one thing I keep forgetting every time I need to start up. Every time I start up, I forget to change our categories. How is everybody today? It's been a wonderful day. Brycey, welcome in, man. Oh, I think your channel cut off mid-sentence. I had it up on the other screen. I was like, just waiting for you to come in. Okay. I think you said next week, and then it flipped over. Shout outs to Brycey. Cheers. I am doing good. I'm recovering a little bit from a cold I had last week, which is kind of sucky because my mom's in town visiting. So I had my mask on for the entire weekend. I'm just walking around. You're lurking? Okay, you're lurking. Polly, you're lurking. Lurkchi, Polly, lurkchi. The stream tonight, you were playing doll impersonators. What's your opinion of the game? Apparently, a lot of people like it. It's, I was watching you play this, and I'm like, what's the difference in between this and the Phantomobia? Phantasmobia. How do you pronounce it? Phasmophobia. That's it. Phasmophobia. Which is actually going to be on console if it isn't. Actually, it's available on console. I've seen it on the PS5 store. I haven't actually researched it to see if it's cross-play or not. And you, Callum? Yeah, let's see. Oh, cross-play works really good on it. And Doll Imposter is just the difference we needed. Change it up from your usual Phasmophobia or Lockdown Protocol. I have to tell you, I saw you playing this, and what flashed in my head was back when I was a kid, and I say that back when I was a kid because it was back when I was a kid, and a lot of you weren't born yet. we had these mega books of puzzles, and printed on like a couple pages were these logic puzzles that Cindy does not like to sit next to Lucy, and Lucy likes vegetables. And so like every 5 seconds when you're playing this game, I'm flashing on when I was a kid. Just wait a minute, are these just the logic puzzles, and we have to figure out the order of people? So, and then I applied it to the ghost game. I applied. So it's like Phasmophobia is essentially you're playing the video game version of the logic puzzles we used to write down as a kid. We used to have our little cross check boxes to figure out who hates the pizza, who's third in the order, who likes apples. When you're playing Lockdown Protocol, it's a bit different. You are actually in the game fighting each other. Who's the dissident? It's a big game of guess who. Yeah. And who knew that there was going to be such a big boom of the logic puzzles, and they're succeeding in their video game form. It's not exactly bad, except for that one you were playing the other day. What was it? Dale Savage something or other. Ooh. I apologize. Dale Savage is a gay male porn star. Jelly hated it. He did. He doesn't want to say that he hated it. He wants to be nice about it. So I just have to set up a few more things. Today we are doing the Battle of Olympus. So this is my birthday month, and I'm doing games that I really enjoy playing, either as a kid or as an adult. These are, I wouldn't say that they're my favorite, because I can't really say I have favorites. I have to give all my games love. But there are some games that stand out. There are some games that have made an impression on me. Maybe we can do that on Thursday. You mean Thanksgiving? when I was living in England and Thanksgiving came around and the whole country just went about its business, except for the Americans, who are celebrating a holiday that doesn't exist. You've got to do the dishes. You'll be lurking. Okay, thank you for the raid, Brycey. Cheers. So I'm doing games that meant a lot to me. I can't say they're my favorite, but they're up there. They're in that top tier. And we are playing on the Polymega today. If you are not familiar with the Polymega, it's a wonderful piece of equipment, although it's a little bit pricey. I know Polly's lurking, but does Polly have a Polymega? Next time you group together and you get a conversation going with Polly, ask Polly if they have a Polymega. So a Polymega is a gaming system that's kind of unique. Right out of the box, it plays video games that are mostly CD based right out of the box. So you got PS1, you got Saturn, not Dreamcast, those are GD-ROMs, not GameCube, those are those little mini discs, but TurboGrafx 16 or PC Engine 16, the disc systems, Neo Geo CD. It's anything that was CD based. It can run out of the box. Then you can buy these modules that plug into it, and they have a cartridge interface. So you can have Nintendo games, you can have Nintendo 64 games, Super Nintendo. Sega Genesis or Mega Drive, they went wild with this piece of equipment. It's a little pricey. The modules are a little pricey. The controllers, you can get the classic controllers, or you can just play everything fairly easily with this. The Nintendo 64 modules still need a lot of work, and the controller configuration, if you're just using this for the Nintendo 64, can take a little getting used to. But the Nintendo 64 controllers, they're pretty solid. So let me have my Nintendo picture up because we're still playing Nintendo. I'm going to go ahead and boot my Polymega, which is currently not located where I'm at. All right. Uh-oh. And let's get our cans on, shall we? We will have to reset the input feed to get some sound. That is much, much better. So I'm getting a couple things ready. So when it comes to the legacy systems, the most improvement I've ever seen is on the loading times for the Neo Geo CD stuff. Maybe one day I'm gonna showcase the Polymega a little bit more. I love just showing it off. and I feel bad because I really shouldn't show it off. But that's not what this is about today. Today we are playing, where is it? In my NES section. The Battle of Olympus. So, the Polymega plays the CD games. It also has the capabilities to store a game. So, when you're playing a PlayStation 1 game, you stick it in there and it'll ask you, would you like to install it? It has some space on the system locally. Unfortunately, the system firmware takes up quite a bit of that onboard storage space. But you have the capabilities to do some expansion stuff. You can put a USB drive on it, or you can stick in an SSD. Man, what are they called? M.2 SSD drive, PCE, whatever. They're the slim looking drives that look like memory chips, basically. So I went and I got on Amazon a 4 terabyte SSD, stuck it in there, and I have yet to use 1 terabyte of that, but I have come close to using 1 terabyte of that. If we take a look at my collection, and I think you can check out in the system. Sorry, I have 1,139 games in here, and it's gonna be more because I haven't loaded up every game. I have a lot of games. The Polymega goes up to about PS1. It doesn't really go any further. It doesn't do PS2 yet. It doesn't do Dreamcast yet. There's rumors but more actual proof that they're going to come out with an Atari module that's going to play 2600 and 7800 games. They don't support ROMs, so you have to have the actual game to install, especially with the cartridge-based games. You have to have the actual game to install it. So you put the cartridge module on, and then you stick the cartridge in there. You can play it from the cartridge. You don't have to install it, or you can install it on the system, and you can still put in the cartridge, but it's on the system. You can just play it on the system. So I have a whole bunch. These are the games I have just stuck on here. PlayStation, you can tell it's got a nice database structure. It's got a nice labeling system. Everything here currently is alphabetical. They have a database that's close to 13,000 entries, and that's including stuff like version 0 or version 1.0 and then version 1.1. Something like the PlayStation version of Tomb Raider had 6 revisions. So it's got an entry in for all of those. So whenever you get around to loading it, it'll load whatever version you have. And I'm really excited about it. You know, maybe one day I'll showcase the Polymega and just at random, you know, have a list of games and be like, pick a game for me. You can also play games with patches if you have the game either installed or like on disc or a cartridge. You play it. There's a spot where you can put a micro SD card in the system. You can label a folder patches, and then it'll go through and see the patch for the game and match it. So if you have some translation patches from Japanese to English for a game, you can load up the game, load up the patch, and it should work. I have yet to actually do that, so I can't promise you anything when it comes to that. I mention it because here's the English version of the first Clock Tower for Super Nintendo, which is a patched version of it. I have loaded up some aftermarket cartridges that work, especially for Super Nintendo. Those tend to work. I have loaded up some homebrew stuff. I have, and they tend to work. It's kind of iffy though. It is really iffy. So if we go down here to, I'm not sure that I got Sweet Home to work. Here's my copy of Tail Concerto on here, which oh my gosh is going on the internet for like $400. What? Okay, so the Famicom, you can load up Famicom games. The only thing is the module that you get for Nintendo games only fits Western or European Nintendo games. It doesn't fit the Famicom cartridges, and there's no Famicom disk system stuff on here yet. But if you have an adapter for your Nintendo to fit Famicom cartridges, you can load up Famicom cartridges. They have the database working for that too, so yay. This is the Japanese version of it. I have an American version of it pressed onto a cartridge. I believe I've tried it and it didn't work. I have a copy of Final Fantasy VII pressed onto a cartridge. It's the Final Fantasy VII D-Make. It's one of the versions of the D-Make, and it's on a US Nintendo cartridge. I don't believe that worked either. So, I mean, it is kind of hit or miss. If you have BIOS, if you have legitimate BIOS, you can load up the BIOS and side skip everything from the Polymega for whatever system you have. It'll load up that BIOS and it'll probably have better compatibility. What was I looking up? Final Fantasy VII. I loaded up my versions. Final Fantasy, Japanese. This is the Anthology. This is the Chronicles. Final Fantasy 3 for Famicom, which is not Final Fantasy 3 for the Super Nintendo. The easy version of Final Fantasy 4, which is kind of what we got in the States, was the easy version. It doesn't look okay. It doesn't look like I loaded the Final Fantasy VII remake on here, so maybe I'll do a stream showcasing the Polymega. I can't guarantee the success of the game. When I loaded it up, I have so many games, so I just kind of went game, load, save, game, load, save. I didn't really test a lot of everything, and I should have. And what are we doing? Battle of Olympus. So when you go to a game, you can see they have saved pictures on here in the database, ready to go. Is that not just the coolest thing ever? So here's a PlayStation game. Sometimes they just have a showcase of pictures like this. I found that to be mostly the case for PlayStation games. Here's Battle Chess. I loved playing Battle Chess as a kid. I play with Synctel, and he just kind of gets bored playing with me because he's actually a chess champion, and I'm just a chess player. So when it comes to improvements, like I said, the most improvement I've ever seen is the Neo Geo CDs. There's practically no load times for any of the games. And we're even talking the fighting games have practically no load time whatsoever. The rest of the CD-based games, the load times are probably better than the original hardware, but sometimes they don't. When you compare it to the Neo Geo CD, you're like, why didn't they go ahead and speed up everything else? It's a head scratcher. Bomberman Fantasy Race. Okay, Battle of Olympus. Here we go. It's after Batman. It's after Battle Arena Toshinden. Ah, here we go. I lost it. And also looking at it, you can insert a game genie code, pro action replay code. The database itself has codes already preloaded, so you can. It says I already have one cheat code applied. So let's clear the cheat codes. It was probably something like, I don't know, infinite energy or something. Red jewels, which are not jewels. Now, I believe that this game did not get a lot of love because it came out around the same time as Zelda 2, and everybody just passed it off as a Zelda 2 clone, and that kind of hurts me. First of all, I think it was the very first game I probably ever played that delved into Greek mythology. And I tell you, after playing this game, I really wanted to know more about Greek mythology because I didn't really understand any of it as a kid. And then I played this game and I'm like, oh, let me figure out, I have to also admit that when when I started reading about mythology, man, those stories are messed up. It's slightly worse than European history when you read about some of the ruling families, the Bourbon family. King Charles II of Spain was a product of so much inbreeding. King Louis XV was not King Louis XIV's son, but it was his great-grandson. Actually, it was his second great-grandson. Everybody else had predeceased him. I'm just making these really. Okay, so the game had an instruction book. I still have the instruction book. It's upstairs with the game because I still have this game. I love this game. Have I not mentioned that I love this game already? The game has very little when it comes to instructions. It tells you you have this capability, you have this capability, and you really have to talk to a lot of people in order to understand what's going on. And the way the graphics look and the way it plays, yes, it got written off as a Zelda 2 clone, and that's kind of why it gets a lot of hate. The games came out around the same time. So what? There's a totally different story. Zelda 2 is not talking about Greek mythology. Zelda 2 does not have actual Greek mythology figures available for you to interact with. The red jewels that I'd mentioned earlier, that's the figure at the top right that says 0, 0. Right now you have 0. They're actually, in the book, they're called olives. The little snake with the 0, 0 under, with the wheels, Those are snake skins for you to use and trade in for like a. It's a special shield, I think. First weapon you get off the bat is a club, which sucks. And then you get support weapons here, and then you get automatic support weapons underneath here. Your life bar can extend if you get ambrosia, and you can heal with nectar, and I think they're bay leaves or fig leaves. So right off the bat, you have that Zelda 2 feel right when you're going into a town. Because I swear, if you look at it, this is practically the Zelda 2 inside a building framework. Graphics. Pretty much everything, including the way the characters look. And I'm pretty sure that's why it got a lot of hate. But take yourself out of the moment. I am error right here. Do the moonwalk, do the moonwalk. I don't know why they're telling this all now, because that comes to play later in the game, like hours later. So yeah, it doesn't tell you, hey Thora, how are you doing? This is the interaction you have in between screens. I mean, you think that there's a wall there, but it's this is what a wall looks like in between the screen. You cannot pass this. How are you doing, Thora? Are you still at work? That's a bay leaf. That's for health. An olive. I got one olive. This game is pretty random in terms of how the enemies are going to react sometimes, because they can literally, these guys can literally crawl under your club and kill you. Just hit you. It's been a day. Oh, bad day. Wipe away chi. Yep. Let's not go there. Ah. Those heal you 1 bar of health. It's possible to lose half a bar of health. Now, this is the thing. You have to remember which doors you gotta sprint out of. See, he's gonna be tricky about it, isn't he? You really gotta catch them as they're coming down. It's really the only way. The first heart is the proof of courage. The second heart is the power to undo the barrier. The third heart is the start of a new day. See, they just regurgitate all this information at you, and it is not applicable at this very moment. Oh, you bum. That's actually useful information. Oh! Sometimes the game is a little unforgiving. Let's see. Jeez! Oh, man. Boo. Boo. Oh, see, he's gonna cheese me. He's gonna cheese me too. So I'm gonna do a little function here that the Polymega has called save states. The Polymega is not an emulation machine, really. But you have access to save states and load states, which are very common in the emulation world. You also have settings you can display for video and audio, adjust the resolution, system music, or I've seen if you have CD-based systems, you can actually use your own music for certain games. Video display. I have it for widescreen right now, but you can actually change it around a little bit. Ad break. I need just a minute, which is all my ad break allows me. Why did I love this game so much? I had played Zelda 2 at this point. I found a lot of stuff to love about Zelda 2. I found a lot of stuff to not love about Zelda 2. Especially if you come off the having played Zelda 1 track. I tell you, there's something about the Nintendo way of doing things where you have the first game in a series that tends to be groundbreaking. It tends to be genre defining. And then you have the second game in the series that they wanted to try and be a little bit innovative, and it just missed the mark somewhere. Let's not rehash the same old thing. Let's do something new. And a lot of people just kind of didn't like it. I was a part of that. The reason that Final Fantasy II Japan never got released in the States was because people thought it was too similar to the first game, reusing some of the graphics. But if you've ever played the Nintendo version of Final Fantasy II, you'll know that the gameplay is fairly different, especially when it comes to the leveling system. That was a little bit complex to comprehend to somebody young. Although you could get it eventually. The more you use a stat, the more possibility you had of leveling that stat up at the end of a battle. Okay. So I mean, I've played it in an emulated state, and I was like, how does this work? I couldn't put, and then it came out on the PSP. The PSP versions of Final Fantasy 1 and 2 are beautiful. If you've never played the PSP versions of it, if you have them, play it. Those are wonderfully drawn games. They have a better sense of graphics, I think, in my opinion, than some of the other remakes of Final Fantasy 1 anyway. So I really liked the story of the Battle of Olympus. It wasn't just a Zelda clone, cuz it wasn't necessarily you against one big bad guy. It wasn't necessarily you going into the castle and defeating a boss. Uh, you you really had to go left, right, up, down, center. Uh, it was more Symphony of the Night when you think about it, or even Metroid based. Because I refuse to say Metroidvania, which is an actual, oh my god, it's an actual category in Steam now. Metroidvania is a category. What? Oh, let's not coin the phrase Metroidvania. These are two different games. I need to slightly adjust. I think one thing that the Polymega sort of missed the mark on is the controllers. They're wireless, but they have to utilize a dongle to the system. And there's only two. Another thing is there's only two USB ports on the system. So if you have to use two dongles for two players, you have no spot to put a USB drive. So, in my opinion, they sort of missed the mark on that. But you take a look at this game. The graphics are similar to Zelda 2. Similar. And I mean to a T in some situations, but the gameplay is not exactly the same. The stories are completely different. So I mean, don't write it off as a Zelda 2 clone. The way to get to another city is through someone else's house. we're not going there yet. Moonwalk, moonwalk. So again, it doesn't tell you, oh, by the way, you can just keep going through the screen. and like ET for the 2600, I think because there was a lack of instructions on what you can do and where to go and how to control the game, that's probably what gave it, sort of a bad rep. But I love the game. I will always love the game. This is where Zeus is. There's also a very strange difficulty level when it comes to playing this game. There's no hard, medium, or whatever. It is just the game. So there's a few things you have to be brainy about. For example, we're going to fight. It isn't a minotaur, but it's like a bull. And it can kill you before you even get a chance to save the game. Takes 4 hits with this club. When you get the staff, it takes 2 hits. Yay. Oh, and is that just not the coolest thing? Toccata and Fugue in D minor. Right when you get into an altar room where you talk to the gods. And of course, the cutest thing is, in order to talk to the gods, you actually have to bow down first. You can't even approach them. They're up on an altar. Anybody else in the game that's living in like a house, you just walk up to them and press the B button. Here, you have to lower yourself to talk to a god before they even approach you. Is that not the coolest? I mean, just the little things in this game. It's enough to make it stand out, in my opinion. It's enough to give it enough love. Ooh, and you just listen to that music. That's amazing. All right. So, when you visit a god in any of their palaces, they're basically your save points. And of course, because the Nintendo was such a piece of work that it was, you had password system for, whatever, 70% of the games had this password system that made no sense whatsoever. Hear the word of gods, don't forget it. This is your password. Ready? What are we looking at? They italicized the numbers so that you wouldn't confuse a 0 with an O. But they have, in this password, you could tell there's a small O on the second line. There's a big O on the one next to it. It's like, what? There's a Q. There's a big S and there's a small S. There's not a small S in here. But that's an actual big S. And punctuation. That's a small X next to the big S. They also have big X's right. See? And it was left up to us to make sure that we copy this exactly right whatsoever. But you know what? I say that the passwords make no sense because it should be exactly the same thing if I talk to him again. honestly don't think that there's a single character in there that's in the exact same spot that it was. Deciphering the passwords in this game, I honestly don't know. And here we go again. All three of these passwords are for the exact same moment in time. And I don't think I mean, if y'all want to clip this and review every single little character position and call me a liar and say, no, this character means that you're on, and you have the bat and nothing else. With as random as this password stuff is, you go into the password system, you create a random password, it won't work. This is why I like the Polymega. I'm just going to make a save state. Woohoo to me. You never really have to meet Zeus again, I don't think. You might have to come back here for some quest that he bestows upon you, a reward or something. Now run out of this door, because this worm will kick your ass. He's gonna cheese me. So you can't go past this. This is the way to, yeah, and you don't want to come in here. Go back out. You automatically get hit by a bat when you go through that door. That's something not to love about the game. The unforgiving aspect of it sometimes. So we are left but to go to Attica. These little guys, they fire and run away. Listen to that music. That is some hyper thing right there. Just Now, she said a little bit further down the road is Athens. And when she said that, she actually meant down. Apparently this is Athens. Littered with goat people. Oh. These guys have a tendency to jump the frickin' wrong way. Just to hit you and avoid your club. Ooh, that guy is really getting on my nerves. What the heck? Oh, maybe this is Athens. These little scorpion dudes suck. Something that I don't think is actually in the instruction book is if you come across a fountain Has to be a certain designed looking fountain. You can refill your health. I wonder the gall this guy has to say, "Prove to me who you are." I ain't gotta prove anything to you, man. I forget how you do it, actually. Bastard. See, that is why these things suck. Bastard. Now, in order to pick something up, you have to crouch down onto it. So basically, you're teabagging the item. But, oddly enough, it also works if you jump onto it because there's a frame of animation at the end of your jump where you're actually kneeling. So, pick up. So we're in Athena's temple now. Talk to me, talk to me. Oh wait, I have to bow. You have to bow down to get a gift from the gods. It tells you not to forget it. How do you supposed to remember it? You write it down. Well, there's 3 capital O's. There's a small s. Question mark. There's a small K. I'm pretty sure there's a big K in there. There's a small X and a big X. There's a 0. That's my password. Polaroid. You waste those Polaroid pictures every time you get a password. Look, that instant you saw that password, it is all completely... You waste a Polaroid on any one of these passwords and you were gonna get it. It was a different world back then. When you were getting it, you were getting it. There was no... Really? So a 6 fountain should heal you. I'm already full, so I don't need to be healed. What? Spaz! So when you get the higher damaging staff, everything is a bit easier to kill. I don't know how you're supposed to prove to somebody who you are. This one is the crystal ball, Prince's crystal ball. My family wasn't rich. We actually didn't get a Polaroid until I was in like junior high school, I think. But then again, you and me are from different generations. Okay, so this guy tells you there's somebody who makes weapons, but somebody else earlier said the path is blocked by a monster. How could you not hit him? He was traveling so slow. This guy, the fast ones are the ones that are hard to hit. Ah! I lost 3 hit points right there. What? Where did this guy come from? It's a solid wall. Boo. Boo! Every time I fill up on my health, some jerk is coming to harsh my marshmallow. What? Okay. So I believe this is the bouldered pathway. Whoa, crap! Come back here. The reason the music changed is because this is like a boss fight area, but it doesn't tell you that. What? Oh, what a jerk. And in this game, there is a difference in between a jumping run and a standing run. Okay, Brycey, good night. Sleep well. Oh, you can actually see that's the monster. I thought that was a patch of grass. There, he's right there, right in front of me. I stood right in front of him the whole time. I thought he was underneath where I'm standing. I thought it was like mixed in, very labyrinth style. Now that you have the shield, you can reflect those little spears. Ah! This guy really wants to throw some. See, how does the slowest moving guy get you get the jump on me, you know? Oy. Sad and pathetic.